Isn't it amazing that we are together in this time, even though we are in many time zones? It's quite extraordinary for me to sit here and know that we are everywhere. And thank you, welcome. I've chosen for this session breathing. It seems in this time of the pandemic that to keep breathing and how to breathe in a healthy way. And several people in the pandemic have contacted me and shared what has been helpful for them from the perspective of body-mind centering, although breathing is not from the perspective of body-mind centering. I'm pausing a moment simply to breathe. And I have several ideas. If you were here, it would be easier. If you were here in the flesh, I could see you. So I have to feel you open up to your presence. Open up to your presence and my own. Many of you may not have experienced this particular way of perceiving body-mind centering. It's based on cellular consciousness. So I'll take a few moments perhaps to introduce to those of you who are not familiar. Although I saw many familiar names at the bottom. Thank you for coming and supporting me as I hope to support you. So what is meant by cellular consciousness? It's a question I've held for over 50 years and still don't have the answer, but I have insights. They continue, and every person brings another insight and another and another. This work is based on community sharing. My name's at the top, but I've thrown out some seeds and they've all planted in forests of their own. And the seeds came to me from others. Very often we approach yoga or movement from our imagery. I'm offering imagery right now. And my yoga teacher, Yogi Ramaya, I studied with in 1968. He presented asanas in a form. If we went forward, we went backward. If we went to the left side, we went to the right side. If we turned to the left, then we turned to the right. We were always balancing within three-dimensional space. I actually have a model, but I'm going to leave it for now. And so he presented a philosophy that I had never heard before. He was a physical therapist and a yogi. He had very much looked like he came off the wall with the long hair and the beard and the white clothing, and kindness, deep, deep kindness, and very clear. And he said that in his center outside of Madras, Chennai, that they were able to heal things like people of things like diabetes, and I don't remember all of them. It's a long time ago. But that was striking because in 68, yoga was a word. It didn't have any weight behind it in New York, in this country. Isolated places, perhaps. So it was a few years later, when I had forgotten he had a special sequence. I wished I remembered. I would share it with you. I only remember that we always balanced whatever we did. We didn't just do forward bending or backward bending, always balancing. And that he would say that an asana, whatever it was stimulating certain organs. And I thought later, how do you stimulate organs? And I didn't remember the details, as I've already said. I repeat myself, I'm an old woman now, I have an excuse. So I was a dancer, and I had been trained in improvisation from the age of 14. And so I thought, well, I'll breathe into an organ, or I'll breathe into an area. I also had studied anatomy seriously since I was 16. So I started early that way. And I said, well, if I breathe in my heart, and then I explore movement, what asana emerges? And then I found some movement and some flow. And then I said, well, what about sounding? Oh. I hope you're joining me. It's strange for me to be here by myself in person, except my beloved husband is here. So as I'm speaking and moving, I hope you'll join me. And so heart asana, through breathing in the cells, rather than let's do this asana where we've been forward and backward, side, side, and this is going to stimulate the heart. Well, it will. But what if in my consciousness, I'm doing it from here, but I'm thinking, oh, it's from my heart. Well, my heart is moving, but the stimulus, the pivot is here. In this case, my pancreas. So heart and pancreas are two different asanas. Can you see the difference? Can you feel the difference? And the way of coming to that is through breathing in the cells. Rather than, okay, we're going to side bend, and this side bend is going to stimulate the heart. Well, it is. But if I do it this way, it's an asana for pancreas. This is pancreas. This is heart. So sometimes in yoga, we stretch. And we think the more that we do the movement, the better the posture. So somebody asked me fairly recently in the last year, maybe 2 years, would I stretch for 5 minutes? And I didn't know how to interpret that. So maybe this is I'm stretching and I want to go even further. This is not yoga in its sukha and sthira, effortlessness, smooth and easy. This is stretching. But I say, oh, what if I want to do it from my heart? And then I add my pancreas. I can come in with my liver, which will be a diagonal. Here's the liver. So I'm not just lifting my arm and stretching over, but I'm breathing here. I'm breathing here. You go, but we breathe in our lungs, yes, and we will explore that also. But we also are cellularly breathing. This is anything I do from here will be an asana of the liver. Sorry. Wasn't that kind? The model said, you have a liver here. You have a heart. I forgot. Thank you, model. Sometimes we have to get, you can see this. Should I bring it closer? This is a new thing for me, so it will bear with me. I took out the lungs. I also jump around a lot. When you look at the inside of the lungs, you see there's a socket. Can you see that? I don't know how much you can see. But the heart fits in that socket. So when I suggest that you breathe in your heart, this is what I'm speaking about, so that your heart is initiating. And then when we come to the liver, I'm not sure how to handle my voice, because if it's a large group, people say, Bonnie, speak louder, but here, you're further away, but I don't have to be concerned about reaching you with my single voice. So here, if I can manage it, is liver. So here, heart and lungs. Oh dear. You get the idea, I hope. So here's liver. So breathing here, it's on your right side. We're mirroring each other, I imagine. So how do you breathe into this? So it's not saying, okay, I have a liver in here, and now I'm going to move that place, which is where the liver is. You know, it really goes up under the ribs, but I can't put this up under my ribs. So if I was just thinking of the liver, I'll move like this. Do it with me. The liver. But if you breathe in your liver, it's a fluid breathing. And then you move that fluid breathing. Your liver is moving you, rather than I am moving my liver. The liver is moving us. And then we can explore what asana comes out of this. What if I want to go back from my liver? I don't know. Let's see, bear with me. I'm going to take this off. That's okay, I have something underneath. If I go back and I think I have a liver and I'm going to take my liver back somehow, maybe I'll push it forward. But my liver, when I breathe in, I don't have to see myself. When I breathe in it, I can move my liver back. So I'm not really going forward, I'm going backward. And it's not a plastic thing that I'm moving back. It's a breathing organ. Ooh, almost fell over. That would be funny. Okay. So if you're exploring this with me, I don't know how you will feel, but notice, for me, I'm much warmer on this side. I'm sweating a little bit. Actually, I feel the liver sweats. Organs sweat also. There's fluid going through the membranes. And sometimes I found that people have swelling here because it's stagnant. This is a viewpoint, not the truth. And finding this movement, this fluid movement of the liver, this area loses it becomes more toned. It loses that kind of puffy feeling. Feels good to me. I hope you're enjoying it also. So then we could explore a traditional asana. And then compare sides where we didn't explore this side through the organs. This side is the stomach. And the stomach, again, I can't bring it up under my ribs, moves into the duodenum, which will then swing back. It's like a U shape here. So we could just say, okay, I have this plastic thing in here and I'm going to move it. I'm moving it from my frontal lobe. I didn't even know I had maybe a stomach there, so this is a good place to start. But can you feel I don't know what you feel. I feel it's not differentiated. It's kind of like this area is moving and I'm starting it here, but I don't really feel I do not feel my stomach. So if you bring your fingers and you kind of go up under your ribs, you'll find your stomach is there, but then, well, what do you do with it if you haven't already explored it this way? Or it's just, you never stopped. So breathe here in your stomach. And as you breathe, it's a fluid breath. It's the movement. Oxygen is moving in and out of the cell through fluid, not through air. I didn't make that, came out. So if you have a sound, let it come out. Now, if we were a group, it'd be all this noise. It'd be wonderful. I can imagine hearing you, and I can vibratorily kind of perceive your In fact, some of your names I know quite well, and I know you'll take advantage of this to be loud and noisy. So really breathing, sounding, moving, and something will begin to happen. If you're sitting on a ball, it'll be fun. Some of you are too close to the computer, I suspect, and would be probably, well, I would suggest you sit back a little bit so that you're not totally getting all the vibes of the computer, but that's your choice. So for me, the liver was easier. The stomach, maybe breakfast, is a little bit sluggish. So now, what asana comes from the stomach? So the stomach and the liver are quite different in shape. So they're not going to, and in function, they're not going to be the exact opposite. The ribs, and the arms and the legs, the pelvic bones, they're somewhat symmetrical, although we are rarely symmetrical in them as well in the movement. So I'm going to go to the side again. And here, if I just want to go back on this side, forward and back, somehow I feel if I'm looking toward the screen, I see you. But really, I only see me and Scott. So, but as I move into my stomach as a breathing organism, other things happen. And instead of going back into a back bend by going forward, can you see that I'm really going forward? I'm going to go backward. And the ball will move because the rest of my body is going forward, but I'm not going forward here. I'm going forward, backward. The ball is really nice because you have rebound. But if you're going like this and you rebound, you could hurt your back. Ball yoga. Somebody must be doing that. So now, breathing liver, breathing stomach, we have other possibilities. Also forward bending. I'm going to go to the side for that. If I go forward by going backward, this is very common in a yoga class I've seen, or even videos, where when people go forward, they're really going backward. You see this in child's pose a lot. And I'm going to stand up. So often in going forward, people will actually go backward. You see I'm going backward? Rather than to actually go forward. Often this is what happens, where you just go back in the pelvis instead of really breathing in your organs and taking them forward. This, I'm standing also, you could be standing. That's very common in going back bending. People are really going forward. But my spine, my central part, is going forward. Rather than that, I am literally opening to heaven. And I'll fall backwards because I'm going backward. I'm not going forward, which is just shifting the weight. And in the case of I forgot in the case of what? Oh, in the case of going backward from the heart, I can come a little closer to you. Coming closer. Yeah, thank you. If you look at the back of the heart, there are these horizontal vessels. And those are the pulmonary vessels between the heart and the lung. The front is pretty much heart, but the back are these pulmonary vessels. And they originally, in the embryo, originate along with the aorta, and then it divides. So when we press forward, we're actually pressing the vessels of the circulation between the heart and our lung. So we're not opening the chest. We're closing the connection of our breathing between the heart and lungs. So when we go back, we want to really open, not press, but we'll look at that, how I mean that. It's a little early for me to speak about that directly. I'm wanting to share some clarity about what I mean by cellular consciousness in terms of the organs. So you could go through all the organs. You can use a book. I have this model. Go online. For those of you who haven't already, look for where the organs are and then place your hands there and feel what happens when you breathe there. And when you find the fluid movement, and when you find your sound in there, rather than just oh. And although there are traditional sounds for each of the chakras, you can also find your own sound from the organs and then how they relate to the chakra. This is where I would ask, or maybe I'll ask you, Scott, you can answer me. Is this clear enough before I go on, or do you think there's a question, or have people been sending questions that I can't read?
There was a question about if you'll come back to opening the back of the heart, which I think you said you would be.
I will come back to that, but I'm going to do something before that.
Great.
Is that it?
That was it. And lots of love pouring in.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm interested in, I'm very interested in what you're experiencing, because your experience is what is for all of us. But the heart requires more. I'm going to come to the lungs. So I have some handouts. They're not handouts, sorry, they not for this. I have handouts and toys, not knowing exactly what we're going to do, but having an idea. This is an illustration, a front illustration of the lungs, which you may not see very well, but I can bring it closer. Can you see it better? So this is a front view of the lungs showing an upper, middle, and a lower area. This is a picture of the back of the lungs, and you can see that the lower lobe, which is green, covers the middle lobe, which is a red. So in the front, you can see the upper blue, you can see the middle, and you see a little bit of the lower, this one. This one, you see the upper and the middle and just a touch of the middle. For those of you who don't know me, I sometimes say the wrong word, so Scott, if I do, I'll ask you to clue me. I was going to take the model. The lungs are shaped a little bit differently because the heart is more on the left side. So I don't know how much you can see this. There's more heart behind this one than this one. Starting with the right side, so your hands will be on a, not mirroring mine, you have an upper lobe, and so you can touch it on your shoulder. You have a middle lobe, and it's really important to include your breast, men and women, but in particular women. And I didn't say, but if you have a bra, it would be good to take it off. Nobody else is there with you, so that you really can feel your breast not being bound. That's up to you. And then the lower lobe is more feeling however high your hand can reach. The lower lobe can go all the way up. I don't have the skeleton here, but to the spine of the scapula. It's very, very long. And they are, the upper lobe, the middle lower is behind it, and the lower lobe behind that. So that's from the cortical, that's the frontal lobe, that's the brain. We're creating what the, cognitively what's here. Then on the left side, we just have an upper lobe and a lower lobe. But as soon as you have the trachea, you have your mouth, right, your larynx, trachea. There's a right and left bronchi, but bronchus, each one. And on the right side, it divided into three. I have three fingers here, upper, middle, lower. But on the left side, it divides into two for an upper lobe and a inferior, thank you, lobe. But the upper lobe, as soon as it comes into the lung, it divides into two. So there are three areas here, even though it's not a separate lobe. And there was a radiologist, a doctor from Hong Kong, who said that in reading the radiology of the lungs, they read it as 6 areas. So I was very happy about that. I'm going to walk forward. This is a picture from the front of the trachea. This is the hyoid up here, the larynx and the trachea. And this is showing the right and the left. And you can see this is the right, 3 divisions. And here the division happens after it comes out. I find that these joints of where the bronchi divide from the trachea are very, very important joints. And for me, because I had a lot of bronchitis as a child and can get respiratory infections through here, and I do not have it in this drawing, but I have seen drawings. I don't think I have it with me. I do not. Where there are alveoli, which we will go to, that are actually all through here. I'm going to give you another drawing because I said it, but I don't have the one I was speaking about. The bronchi further divide into bronchioles, and then they have all of these alveoli, air sacs. But I've seen drawings where there are air sacs all through here. Whoops. So what does this have to do with what we want to do, or what I would like to share? That air is coming in through our nose and our mouth. And I'd like to encourage you to breathe through your nose if you can, because there are 6 chambers there, 3 on each side, that filter the air coming in and out. Where the mouth, if your nose is stuffy, it's a secondary, thankfully, way to breathe. So we breathe in, and it comes into the nose and goes through the pharynx into the larynx, the trachea. And then it divides, and then it goes smaller until it gets into the alveoli. And then at the alveoli, the oxygen moves into the blood, to the capillaries, and the carbon dioxide moves into the lungs. So air is only this part. All the rest is fluid. And in the lung itself is breathing, not just breathing in the alveoli, but it's breathing in its own tissue. And that's where I'm wanting to take us. So this was all cortical, frontal lobe learning. And now to go to cellular learning through breathing. So if you're able to lie down wherever you are located, I'll suggest this part that you lie down, but you're already starting. Before you lie down, let me show you so you don't have to look at me while you're doing this exploration. First, you place your hand of the same side. Could you just do that without even this is easier, but for now, could you just do it on the same side and let me explain it later? But if you can't do it, like I have trouble, I can't quite do it on this side, but I still can touch there. And then for the middle layer, under your arm, not the middle layer, the middle lung. I'm going to say lung, even though we know this is the lower part of the upper. It's the middle. And then reach behind for the lower lobe. And then we'll switch sides. So I'm going to offer a somatization. If you like to lie down and close your eyes so that you can let go of directing it. We've been directing it from here, but we can let go. And now, in terms of that, open the back of your brain. You see, if I still use this, I'm going to focus from my brain. But it's not to focus, it's to rest this and open. We don't create sensation, we open to it. And some of you could still, like Scott, still you're sitting. I'm going to be sitting. But if you can lie down, why not? The other thing is to start with your hand touching, because our hand has so many, it's meant for touching the sensation. But when we use our hand to touch, we're going through the hand part of the brain. So it gives us, again, a brain location, but then we release the hand so that there's no intermediary between the cells of our lung telling our brain that they exist, rather than the brain telling these cells that they exist. All right, so I'll give you a moment to lie down if that's what you would like to do. But close your eyes. I'll keep mine open, even though I can't see you. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'll close them. So placing, it doesn't matter which hand and which side, as long as your lung and hand are the same. And I'm going to say upper, middle, lower. So please not say anything for a moment, so I can feel myself. So this is not to direct your breathing in any way, but to be curious and open the back of your brain. And someone will say, what do you mean by that? Imagine that, maybe you could use your imagination, that you just open something. Allow it to open. John Upledger once said, if you don't feel it, pretend it until you do feel it. But see if you could not imagine it from your frontal lobe, but feel it from the back. And then release your hand so that the touch of your hand has stimulated your skin. But you're taking away the part of your cortex that registers your hand, and open up the lower areas that register your lung, which we have been taught that we can't feel the lungs, but when you feel them, you know that you can. So opening your awareness to the upper lobe of that lung. I'd like to suggest that you release your tongue from the top of your mouth if it's there, or whatever tension is in your tongue. Can it rest on the floor of your mouth? It's a very big organ, a very big muscle, and it has a very big area of the brain. So let it rest in Shavasana so that more of your brain can be receptive to your lung, the upper lobe breathing. All of your lungs are breathing, but your focus, your awareness is tuned in cellularly to that upper lobe. Because we have a time frame, you could spend as long as you would want there, but we're going to go to the middle lobe. So placing the same hand, this time over your breast, under your arm. The upper part of this middle lobe is behind the lower part of your upper lobe, a little bit. And for women in particular, but men certainly, allow the cells of your breast to breathe. Our culture for many centuries has repressed the breathing of breasts. So along with the middle lobe inside of your rib cage, allow your breast on the front side to breathe. Really breathe. It breathes, just like your liver and your stomach and your lungs. Then releasing your hand so that you have a direct connection to the sensory awareness in your brain of functions that are not usually made aware of. And just because men don't bind the breast, it doesn't mean you don't need to breathe there also. Because very often the social mores has been to harden the breast in men, to bind it in women, and to, be militarily closed for men. Be brave by being hard. So be brave by being soft. By being vulnerable. And for women, by being exposed. And maybe as men and women, as people, whatever the identity, ultimately, we won't have to do either. We'll be safe to be soft over our hearts. For ourselves and for each other. Our anatomy is social, political, personal. And now the same hand to the lower back. And for some people, this is a difficult move. For some, it's very easy. You could put a pillow there or a stuffed animal or something. Or just if you're on your back, the floor. Balls are great. Balls that are resilient. The Gertie ball, smaller ball even than Gertie, or the Gertie. I'm sure there are new balls that I don't know the names of, but not something that will give you rebound, resilient, softness, not something to make you tough. Those of you, everybody, I guess we're in this time of self-containment. How we can be free in ourselves. So allow yourself to begin to move, not move your lungs, but let your lungs move you. And here you might want to bring your hand in again to feel, to receive the movement of your lungs, your breast, your chest, your back. And feeling your breath. It's through the air, and it's through the fluids, the interstitial fluid, your blood. And then gradually, you might need to glance over at the screen to see what I'm saying. Let the movement travel into your head and that arm. So stretching is not stretching, but elongating inside and condensing. Luxuriate in the feeling of your body moving without directing it. It's moving you. And some of you I hear are sounding. It's coming through the airways. Why not? We can't see how it's going through wires, through the internet. Why can't we just pick that up ourselves? And then I'm going to ask that you come to sitting from here so that you can, in sitting posture, feel the difference between your two sides. So now move your other arm and your other side of your body, your head, and then just see what it's like to move it from your brain in a way, from your sensory motor connection. Wonderful, Scott. And then come back to the side that has the fluid and see if you feel the difference. You may or may not, that's personal. And those of you who are really, really, into asana, explore. Explore, you can stand. I'm not standing, it's difficult with the monitor. And if I'm on the ball, I can also explore here. So if you have a ball in your sacred space. All right, you want to lay down again now to explore your other side, your other lung. Be comfortable. Settle yourself in the way that you feel the most comfortable. You can prop things, not prop things. And we'll start with placing the hand on the same side on your upper lobe. Close your eyes, unless you want to keep them open, of course. Opening the back of your brain to feel the breathing of this upper lobe. And releasing the hand simply because we have a time frame. On your own, you can stay as long as you want. You could do that now as well. But this phase is to release your brain that registers your hand from monitoring and filtering the information from the upper lobe of your lung, which has had very little awareness in our culture, maybe in yourself. But we've actually been taught that we can't feel it. So it's nice to let the oppressed be free. Begins with ourself, in ourself. The unacknowledged to be not acknowledged. No judging, no forcing, no saying, oh, that's not good, or that could be better. This is not about what could be or should be or possible, but what is in this moment. For myself, I'm not breathing as easily here. So it means even more loving, more opening to what is. Not more repression. Or why aren't you like your other? Be open to the curiosity of, wow, I never felt that before. And then bringing your hand to your breast and middle lobe under your arm. Feel the softness of your skin, the fat. And we don't have a rib cage, hopefully, but we have 12 feelers, like a centipede on each side, not to rigidify it into a cage. You see, our anatomy is a political statement. It's a social statement. And we bought into it for a long time. We don't need to anymore, except to the degree that we choose to. We have choice. and we offer choice to each other. Releasing your hand so you can have a direct communication between your middle lobe, the cells of your lung, your breast, your chest, and awakening that part of your brain which usually doesn't register. Unless we're ill, then we know when we can't breathe. This is allowing, however you're breathing, to breathe. And it's an interesting thing, if there's an area that's not breathing as much as another, some alveoli or some cells inhale more, others exhale more, and some kind of just are quietly observing or just stagnant from old breathing habits. Or maybe I know a few people here who have the virus or are recovering, or other breathing issues or health issues, that the more something is weak or restricted, the more gentle we need to be. So it's like if we're holding a newborn baby, we have to be very, very gentle versus, 35-year-old athlete. We can be more tonally vigorous. So it's the same way with the cells of our body. If they are healthy and strong, then we can be really go with it. But if they're more tentative, then breathe less. So much about breathing explorations are breathe more, count longer, more force. No, in this case, when you feel something that's struggling, breathe less, shorter, less effort. Be gentle, because otherwise the tone is going to go into the stronger area. It needs to be less homeopathically. To be more, to go into the area. All right, let's go to the last lower lobe. And releasing your hand, opening the back of your brain, accepting what is with love, tenderness. Releasing your hands from telling the lungs where they are to finding the movement of the fluid lusciousness of the cells breathing and communicating with each other. In this lung, whichever lung you are exploring. And then let your hand and your arm and your head and your back and your front and your breast, let them respond to that movement. You have sound, let it. And come to sitting, if you will, if you like. And I'm going to move the model aside. I'm not sure, I'm going to be facing you and then I'm going to be to the side of you. That as my different lungs are moving, to find the joints of the bronchi. So if I'm sideways here, if as I'm feeling this movement, I can move my lungs forward and back. They're excursioning around your heart, my heart. But when this is something I'm really wanting to share. I'm moving my lungs. But now I'm moving those joints of the bronchi. You see the difference? So here I'm reaching my arms forward. Here I'm reaching my lungs forward by gliding around the heart. But here I'm moving those joints. And if I go backward, here my arms, if this is my arms, this is my lungs are excursioning back, but here those joints. So if I wanted to go into a back bend, this would be my arms and pressing forward. These are my lungs going around my heart, and that's how I go backward. Not by pressing the pulmonary, but by my lungs going back. And then if I add the joints here, I can go straight to heaven and come back from there into Namaste. So to bring our hands into prayer or to Namaste is not the arms only, or even the lungs or the heart, but these joints. And even though we're going down, I'm about to stand up. I'm going to stand up. I'm coming up from these joints. And I'm coming down from these joints. I'm not coming up from my legs and my arms separate. I'm here, my heart is bowing inside of my lungs. And I open in these joints. And I want to be very clear, if I don't want to hurt myself, that I'm not pushing, I'm yielding. Because my lungs are holding my heart. And if I go into a forward bend, my lungs come around, and instead of bending back, my lungs embrace my heart. I'm here, I'm not here. I can go forward, and I have resilience because our lungs are buoyant. Great, Scott, great. So this is transitioning. This is lifting me off the ball. Not, I'm too old to lift this way. I become an old woman, but here, I'm youth again. I didn't lose it. We have a few more minutes, 15 or so. I'd like to stand again, please. I'm going to back up. We were exploring, actually, if the camera can go back there, yeah. So here, I'm just lifting my arms, but here my lungs are throwing my arms up. And the way I know the difference is if I lift my arms, I'm stuck to the ground. But if I lift my lungs, I'm not stuck to the ground. I have levity. I'm not floating though, because I could lift my arms and say I'm going to be light. But if I lift my lungs, I am light. So I'm not sure how to do this. What I want to share with you is I'm lifting with my lungs and my lower lobe of this, my left arm. I'm going to release it. It's literally sliding down the middle lobe. So if I leave my lung the way it is, and I straighten my leg, and I drop my arm, then someone will say, Bonnie, your shoulder's lifted, push it down. But that's not the problem. It's that my lung was lifted, that lower lobe. I'll do it again. I'm going to swing up my arm from my lung, and then the lower one, I'm going to release it down. It made my legs plie or bend because there's no hole in the floor. Can you hear me if I turn it away? So I'm not going to change this. I'll straighten my leg and lower my arm. Then I could lower my scapula. But now I lower my lung. I'll do it on the other side. I'm swinging up my lung. I have levity. And I'm going to lower the lower lobe. I'll straighten my legs. I'll lower my shoulder. I'll even lower my ribs. But I didn't lower my lung. So a lot of scoliosis is about awakening the cells to their own existence. So I'll do another one. I'll throw up my arm with my lungs. I'll lower the lower one. Now I'm going to lower, this is a little bit harder to do on this side because I don't have a separate middle lobe, but I can release the bottom of the upper lobe. So now I'm even more this way. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to lower my upper lobe with it. So I could do all kinds of things with my shoulder and my ribs, but look at my spine. I need to lower my lung. So on this side, I have 3 lobes. I throw it up and I lower the bottom, the inferior, the middle one. And now I'll lower the upper one. And now release them all. I'm going to throw my lung over here. So maybe I want to do something here. I'm throwing my lung there, and then I'm going to take the lower lobe and move it back. And I'll come back. But then maybe I want to reach out so that I'm using all my lung. If I throw it this way, the lower lobe, it's great if I'm in this posture. I don't remember the name, pigeon, I think. But when I come up, If I stay there, I'm going to have a different kind of posture. I have to bring the lung back. So very often I see people, for example, is it pigeon? I think so, where they'll push forward and close off the pulmonary circulation, push into the kidneys and adrenals and stretch the arm back, rather than feel the movement through your organs into your limbs. So we've only taken the lungs and a little bit of the heart, maybe in these last few minutes. So the lungs go this way around the heart, but then the heart can move within the lungs. It can rotate. So if you're going into a twist, you can bring it through your lungs, but then you could also bring it through your heart and through both. You get different ranges. I hope this has been at least clear when I say cellular consciousness, how we initiate movement. The idea of the movement is here. I want to stand up. I want to sit down. I want to go side to side. But the movement itself is created by movement, not by the brain idea of the movement. But from moving itself, we move. You say, but you are moving here. Can you see it's different than if I move like this? Inside of me is moving me. Where here, my inside is just going along with the outside. If this is skeletal, muscular, and it's happening slowly, that kinesiology is more than the bones and the muscles. It's more than observing external movement. It's about all the cells, the blood, the nerves, the ligaments, the brain itself. I'm moving my head from my brain, not moving my brain inside of my head. My brain, here my brain is static. Here my brain is sexy, sensuous. It's living. All right, we have what? A few minutes. Is there one question or comment that you would like to make, Scott, or anyone else?
Sure, I'll look through the questions. There's quite a lot. There's just, again, so much love pouring in, Bonnie.
It's pouring out, too.
Yeah. All right. So Bonnie, maybe you could share, I know some people have written in about how this might support the freedom of the neck, which can often be held in yoga, and share a little bit about how the movement and the articulation of our lungs and heart can free the neck.
Yeah. When I mentioned that the pulmonary vessels, the embryology is fun to go to, that the aorta and the pulmonary have the similar source, and then off of that come the carotid and the, help me out, the
Jugular.
Yeah, the jugular, thank you. That they're coming out, they're also coming in, but that as we feel, I have a picture. I'll walk over. This is showing that the circulation is one loop. I mean, it's different loops, but it's one continuous cycle. Unless we cut ourselves, the blood stays in the vessels. And the heart is the center of breathing, because when the oxygen comes into the alveoli and it goes into the capillaries, it goes to the heart, and then it's circulated to the cells in different areas. And then the oxygen goes to the interstitial, goes to the cell, comes back to interstitial, comes into the veins, comes back to the heart, and then the heart carries it through the pulmonary to the lungs, and then it comes in through the pulmonary and then goes to the rest. And then, so the heart is a spiral. This is all spiralic. That's the center of breathing between the cell breathing and the lung breathing or the plants with the carbon dioxide. So when we are here, the vessels are limbs of the heart. So as my heart is rotating here, it's also, I'm reaching here. I'm not just bending my head back, or I'm not sure what view is better. Here, I'm going to turn my head here. This is my skeletal muscular system, but here's my blood system. I have feelings about it. I'm not just turning, or I could look here and then I'm look at my paintings, haha. But no, I'm feeling. Then if I do that, my foot's involved because it's one system. So if my eye wants to go at you, Scott, I'm going to be here. If I do it with my eye, I just look at you. But if I do it through my blood system, I connect to you. So stiffness, and scoliosis, and other issues go to the fluid breathing of your cells. They know what to do because they created you. And I can tell by my voice that I'm getting, come on, gang, let's do this thing. I hope this has been, it's been fun for me. I hope it's been fun for you. And do you want to say anything, Scott?
Yeah, I know we'll close in just a few minutes, Bonnie, and I just wanted to share with you the amount of pouring in of not only love, but of just, I'm looking at the chat box, which I'll send you later, all the comments, which is just so many people feeling awakened and transformed, and the aliveness again here. And some people who have written in who have are recovering from COVID, and just sharing that this has been incredibly helpful. And I think that it's a really significant and such a beautiful practice in this particular time, as well as every other time, but especially this time. So with that, Bonnie, I just want to thank you so much. And thank you for coming on to the World Wide Web and sharing yourself. Well, and I know that people are so grateful. I just the pouring of messages, and hopefully we can have you back soon and just keep sharing you in some way to the world. And thank you everyone who joined this beautiful class and everyone who's watching it from home. And with that, I want to turn it back to you, Bonnie, for sort of just a final sharing of any sort.
I want to really thank you, Scott, and all the people who have brought this to fruition. Enormous amount of focus and time and financial, many. I think it's the middle of the night where you are now. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And to everyone who's here and not here, there's a lot of sadness. We have also sadness in our family. And within all of that, let us really not waste this time where the world has stopped. There's an old thing, stop the world, I want to get off. I want to get in. like, how do we hold hands? How does this time where we've been forced to be sheltered in place, where the planet is fresher? So there is a lot of suffering, personal and community, but we're really seeing how children need to be freed. And the economics and the social political actions, in particular for children, it's brought out so much now. Do you have a computer? Do you have access? Can you be educated? Well, it's been there all along, but now it's like out as many other things are out today. There's a lot coming out that we have to see, and let's do it together in whatever way we can, and honor each other. Thank you, and I love you. Be well.